Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's so great to be able to record this for you all. I've been in my heavy, hard-hitting worship moment in my life where it's just like my reading has been manifesting things. Things have been coming out of the reading and, conversations that I've been having. I mean, it's almost like God is speaking. The Spirit is just speaking to me in all areas of my life. Of course, sometimes it's not always, what feels good to me, but I honor it and I accept it for that the Spirit is speaking. And this morning I was reading in John chapter 4, and we got down to the 49th verse, and he is addressing his time period when he entered back into Galilee, Cana, and he was on his way. He was just traveling back, and he had done some things prior to him actually getting to this place. But Jesus had made his way, him and the disciples, to Cana. And he came upon a royal official, perhaps somebody in a dignitary, someone that we actually look up to, someone with authority, someone with power. He comes to this person, and perhaps there could be some notion. I'm not a person who's actually went to seminary, so I'm sure some of the seminarians and preachers out there could elaborate. But it is possible that this royal official could have heard about Jesus's previous time in Cana, what he did there from turning the water into wine. And you might remember that from the wedding experience. And this royal official comes to him and he says, that my son is near death. He is near death. So he's laying on his deathbed, pretty much. He's laying on his deathbed. And the Bible tells us that Jesus's response is that, these people, will never believe in me until they have an experience. Until you actually have an experience with God. I want y'all to hold on to that part right there, because that right there is really what got me first. That right there. God's ability to recognize that we will never really understand or fully take in who God is until we've had a God experience. Hold that. Please hold it, y'all. Okay. So then he goes on and Jesus tells him that your son is alive. And I love this part, and I think this is where I liken myself to be. Where the official, knowing his dignitary status, knowing who he is, and probably all of the accolades that would come onto him, knowing who he is and what he has done and able to do, he takes God at his word, and he leaves that place, and he starts heading home. When I tell you guys that as a believer, the ability to take God at his word and start trucking it to your victory, start trucking it to where God has blessed you, to start trucking it to the place of where your deliverance and your freedom lies. Oh my goodness. Oh, to God be all the glory. All the glory. When I tell you I'm screaming, I'm just trying to keep this, so I really want y'all to get this. I want y'all to get this. And then he doesn't end it there. At least the unveiling of God's awesomeness doesn't end there. On the way home, this official comes into contact with his servant or someone who works for him, and brings him the news that his son is alive. Then the servant, then the official goes on and he says, well, I could be adding some color to this to kind of create this picture. Of course, now, in my mind, again, I'm not a scholar, but I can only imagine he took God for his word and he began to travel home. But Cana to Capernaum, I believe, is where his son was, or where he was resting. Cana to Capernaum is not like around the corner, y'all. All right. There's some distance. There's some miles, like 20, 30 miles in between these places. In between those places, at any given time, he had an experience that probably jolted his mind to reconsider if his son was in fact alive. Like, if these things were happening, and I think to myself that as we get God's word on a Sunday, I'm just using this, is we get God's word on a Sunday, and then as we go throughout the week, we have these moments, these desolate moments, these moments where it's raining, where it's storming, where it's snowing. We have these moments where, well, hell just won't seem to freeze over long enough for me to cross over the river, y'all. We have those moments. We have those moments where the lying and the backstabbing occur. We have these moments, but we got the word and we believed the word. This is really for believers, y'all. We got the word. We believed the word enough to move in the word. All right. And so he takes everything that he has, he travels, he gets to his servant or the person who works with him. He gets this news. And then he checks, he verifies God's love and favor over his life and over what he asked God for. He then asked him, what time did this happen? Now, if he's asking what time did this happen, he either had to have known that somebody was keeping track of time. Somebody was keeping track of this child's ins and outs and comings and goings. And this could be medically something that they did back in that day. They probably did keep track of every little bit, every 15, 20 minutes they would come in. That's not uncommon. You check your vitals. We have machines and mechanisms that kind of keep track of that right now. But during that time, there was perhaps someone assigned to specifically take note. And because of who he is, being a official, being somebody that has power, he probably could afford to have somebody by his child's bedside notating every move, every change in his environment at that time. That's very possible. So when the official asked his servant what time, and he gives him the time that's around 1 o'clock, I think he said like around 1 o'clock during that time, then the official recollects, goes back in his memory bank, and it could be very well that he notated when Jesus gave him that release that his son was alive. It could be that he wrote it down, and he then verifies and says, that's the exact time that he told me. I'm gonna lay it on you like this, y'all. The way the Spirit laid it on me. From the time you got up from the altar, your faith and everything inside of that you spoke to God has already been laid and is completed. It's already done. It's already been received. It's already been given to you. Now, you might be waiting on a messenger to bring you the news that you are alive. You might be waiting, but you can't not. Look, the faith is the going home. The news that it's just happened, the blessing is coming to you. Your faith is going home while your blessing, your response, your answer is coming to you. Your faith is taking you to where you need to go. And your blessing is coming to where it needs to be. You just got to keep traveling. You just got to keep moving in God's word. You got to know that what God spoke over your life then